Okay, so with your near-death experience, what would you like to bring back to those here in form as far as that whole ability to perceive without judgment, the experience itself of passing near death or, actually passing? What would be your take on that as far as because of your experience where you definitely crossed over and came on back?
I think to me, the biggest thing that's always stood out is just that, if we're a part of the divine, all that is, right? You take off this suit or shirt, and I'm using the example of a shirt, but I mean, the human body is just that. It's not who we are. We're merely a spirit, which is part of a divine soul, our spirit, and we're having this human experience. And in that experience, we're led to believe that there's, sin. We're led to believe that there's all this judgment around sin, around error, around right, wrong, all this stuff. And what I found out firsthand from being out of this physical body was none of that exists. So that's what allowed me, when I came back and I, if you will, had a second chance and at living, and I've said this to you, not too many other people, but I said I felt like I had to die in order to learn how to live.
Mm-hmm.
Where I had to have that experience in order to understand how impactful the present is, and how impactful non-judgment is, and how impactful in what forgiveness truly is. Forgiveness is never for the other person, it's always for us. See, when I learned that there was no judgment, then I also learned that I couldn't, if I truly looked at myself with no judgment, and I truly looked at my parents, and I truly looked at other people who may have wronged me in life with no judgment, how could I judge them? The only thing I could do is forgive them, because that means they have a story, and their story is whatever their story is. It's not right or wrong, because that's judgment. So if you take the right or wrong out of something, it just is. It's like, this is a black shirt. It just is. There's no judgment. It's not like it's supposed to be a white shirt, it's supposed to be a green shirt, it's supposed to be a red shirt. It just is, right? So when you look at life from that perspective, and you view others from that perspective, it allowed me to be able to go and sit down and have dinner with people who had tried to kill me. And, that's a pretty extreme, by most people's standards, that's a pretty extreme thing. Is when somebody tries to kill you, the last thing you think of is, well, I'm going to go have dinner with this person. And it wasn't necessarily the first thought I had. I'll admit. But over time, I realized that if I hung on to anger or judgment or resentment or any of that hostility, and if I couldn't learn to forgive and move past it, then the only one being stopped or hurt wasn't them, it was me.
So what would you suggest or recommend to anyone who has a lot of conditions around their love, even if they are not aware that they have the conditions around their love? The love, I'll love you if, or if you do this for me, I'll love you, I'll show you gestures of love, or I'll give you things, or what would you recommend based on that near-death experience? What would you tell them as far as how they're framing up their love?
I tell them to go hang out with either kittens or puppies. Because they just radiate. I mean, they just wiggle and radiate unconditional love. And if you truly get what unconditional love is, that means that there are no conditions on love. There is no, well, if you do X, then X.
So do people often misinterpret your expressions of love based upon their own perceptions of, you must want something for your effusiveness, you must think you're going to take advantage or use somebody, or that you have an alternative motive even?
Yeah, I would say that because people are conditioned through parents, through schools, through society, through churches, through politics, through media. We're conditioned to put all these rules and all these judgments on all these things. So when a person comes to you and is just being authentically themselves, we don't know how to interact with that.
Meaning, meaning
society in general.
Mm.
So if I put something out to, say, a young lady, and say she does amazing art, right? And I'm like, oh, I really love your picture, and da-da-da, I'm really interested in your picture and your work, your artwork. It's phenomenal. What amazing painting. If she has conditions around love, she may also have misinterpretations about the signals where I'm talking about her painting, and she may take it as a personal thing towards her.
Mm.
And I think, that's just an example, but that's what happens when we have our filters. I love coffee. Everybody knows I love coffee. And I've used this example before, and it's like a coffee filter. If you use a metal coffee filter, you get one type of coffee. If you use a paper filter, you get one type of coffee, right? There is a difference, and people who are like coffee aficionados know that, right? Go to Starbucks, they'll give you a lesson on it. They love talking about the difference of filters and water. But the point is it is a difference, and the difference is based on the filter. We as humans have filters based on all of those things that we've been taught. And when I was out of my body and up in wherever I was, the quantum, and what was coming to me was, there is only the now, there is only love, and there is none of the other things, none of the judgment, none of the conditions, none of the anything. So if we understand that all we have is love, truly, and that if we get back to just loving each other, all the other baloney won't happen. It won't matter. All the dis-ease in our bodies come from not loving ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because you picked up a bug. No. It's because you're not loving yourself enough to allow yourself to get sick.
So what do you say about contagiousness or contagions regarding that and dis-ease and etc.?
It's because you're not allowing yourself to be loved, and therefore your self-talk is telling yourself that you are going to get whatever is out there. That
you believe that you're under some kind of attack.
That you're under attack. You believe that you're supposed to take that on. And that's what it is. You're taking it on from or for another person. The example is kids or dogs. I have a lot of dog examples. We love dogs. But dogs will often take stuff on for humans, their owners. It's been well documented. And same thing with kids. Kids don't want their parents to fight. They don't want their parents to suffer. They don't want their parents to be unhappy. Mikey sticks his head underneath the camera there, right on cue. And so kids don't want that, right? So what do they want? They want to see their parents loving and happy and appreciating and, expressing that joy and that gratitude. And, joy is a form of love. Gratitude is a form of love. And so if you get into that, everything else stops mattering.
Well, thank you, BJ Bronstadt, for your experience and your sharing. I'm sure this will impact the people that find it in ways that they were possibly looking for a few answers for themselves. So thank you. This is BJ Bronstadt and Jeannie Blaha. Take a walk with your angels and joyflames.com. Peace.